This tutorial is going to go over how to get your model out of Maya and into Substance Painter to texture. Before we get out of Maya, we do have to create something called an ID map. ID maps are not required for all texturing, but it can make life a little bit easier. And what it is it's very similar to a mask that you would use in Photoshop. However, instead of a mask being just black and white, a color ID map is a mask with multiple different colors that you can use to mask with. So if you have red, green, and blue, you'll have 3 different masks that you can work with. Start, I have my barrel and everything is all organized and named in a group. I'm going to select that group, make sure you actually select the entire group in the outliner, and duplicate it. And that's going to move it over here for now. Naming conventions are very, very important for IDs. And it's going to hide the duplicate for now and just work with the original. And what I want to have is an underscore low at the end of all of these names. You can do it manually, or you can select everything in your group. So I selected the first thing and shift left clicked on the bottom. Come up to modify, search and replace names, and you will get this. And generally what it lets you do is if you wanted to rename, say, everything called barrel and call it something else, you could then replace barrel with whatever you put in. However, I don't actually want to replace anything. I want to add a suffix at the end of everything. So in Maya and some other programs as well, if you put in a $sign, it will take the existing name and just add on to the end. So instead of replacing, it will add on whatever you type for the end. I'm going to type underscore low. Capitalization does matter. It does not matter how you capitalize it, as long as you remember if it was lowercase, uppercase. I chose all lower, and I'm going to hit apply. You can see I now have underscore low at the end of all of my names. I'm going to hide this one and bring back the duplicate. I'm going to rename that parent group and just delete that one that it put, because I don't want it to have a different name. And then select everything, and instead of putting underscore low, I'm going to put underscore ID to tell Substance Painter that this is our ID model, and hit apply. Now you can see I have underscore ID at the end of everything. Next, I need to assign different colors to my objects. Each color represents a different material. So all the boards could be one color, the metal rings could be another, and the top and bottom will be a third color. So I'm going to select all the boards. You can do it however you want. Right click and hold, assign favorite material, and this time we're going to make a Lambert. It is very important that you make a Lambert, not an AI standard surface or anything else. Substance Painter sees Lamberts and not Arnold materials, and I'm going to make a Lambert. In the attribute editor, I'm just going to click on color and assign any one of these colors. I start with red, and I'm going to rename this Lambert red. Come into the Lambert 2 shading group, delete Lambert 2, and just type in red SG. Next, I'm going to select these rings and right click, hold, assign favorite material and Lambert, and this time I'll make it yellow. And then I'll select the top and the bottom, and if I hit G, it will repeat the last command, and the last command was make a new Lambert. So hit G, I now have a new Lambert. And I'll make this one green. The colors do not matter as long as they are all different. So now when we're in Painter, we can tell Painter to quickly add all of the same material to the red, to the yellow, and to the green. There is one other color I am going to add, and it's to the boards. And since wood grain flows one direction on the sides and a slightly different direction on the top and the bottom, I'm going to have the top of and the bottom of the boards a different color so I can very quickly change the flow of the grain. So to do that, I have all my boards selected. I'm going to go into one of the side views, isolate, and just right click with all the boards selected and come down to face. I'm then going to do a marquee selection and select this top bit right here so I have more than what I want. Then hold down Alt or Shift to deselect and deselect these boards. So I'm left with just these that's top selected. And I'm going to right click, Assign Favorite Material, and Lambert. And this time I will make it blue. I have to do the same for the bottom, so I'm going to come down, marquee select a little bit more than I need, and then hold down Shift and deselect these unwanted faces. And instead of assigning a new material, because the top and the bottom will be the same, I'm going to right click and hold, Assign Existing Material, and Blue. I'm going to get out of my isolate mode and back to perspective. Now you can see I have all of my colors to differentiate what material goes where. I'm going to unhide the original barrel. And it's very important that when you export these from Maya, that they are right on top of each other. So I'm going to reset my translations so I have my high and my low sitting directly on top of each other. Maya will have difficulties displaying. You might see some color or some gray. That's alright, they are right on top of each other. And I'm going to export my low poly first. So I'm going to hide my ID and marquee select everything. Come up to File and Export Selection. You should export to your barrel project. I do not have one right now. It's going to make a new folder and call it barrel_low and hit Export Selection. I'm going to hide my low poly, unhide my ID, select it, and File, Export Selection, and barrel_ID. It's very important that you export as an FBX. So make sure that you have FBX export for files of type and hit export. If you do not have FBX for your export options, come up to Windows, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager, and mine did not open. Alright, so Windows, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager, and type in FBX, and you'll have fbxmaya.mll, and make sure it is loaded and auto load, and hit close. You should have 2 FBX files on your desktop or wherever you save them to, and that is what we will be bringing into Substance Painter.